You ever put together like one of those, flat pack furniture things?
Oh,
And you
yeah.
step back, you're like, wow, this is great. Even though, maybe it's a little wobbly
Right.
and you maybe skipped a step or two.
Uh-huh.
That, my friends, is the IKEA effect in action.
Hmm.
It's this weird thing where we tend to like things more just because we built them ourselves, even if, they're not really any better.
Yeah.
And today we're going to do a deep dive into this whole IKEA effect thing.
Mhm.
We'll look at the research, the psychology behind it,
Mhm.
and even how companies use it.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting to me is it goes beyond just like a feeling of accomplishment. We're talking about like people will pay more
Yeah.
for something they built themselves.
Yeah, it's like, why would we pay more for something that
Right.
gave us a headache?
Yeah.
I mean, a sweat,
Exactly.
maybe even curse a little bit at those little Allen wrenches.
Exactly.
To figure this whole thing out. We've got some research articles, some consumer psychology stuff, even some insights from Psychology Today.
Very cool.
Ready to dive in?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's get into it.
Okay, so first up, there's this 2011 study
Mm-hmm.
by Norton, Moshon, and Arale.
Okay.
And in this study, they had people build IKEA boxes
Yep.
and origami,
Mm-hmm.
and then they compared how much they valued those things to people who just looked at pre-built ones.
Right.
So what'd they find?
Well, what they found was those who built the items themselves, they were willing to pay like twice as much.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so it's like by doing the work, creating something, it like adds value. It's like a price premium for your effort.
That's wild.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
This only happened if they actually finished building the thing.
Ah, okay.
If they didn't finish, they didn't get that same like value bump.
So it's not just going through the motions.
Right.
It's got to be that
You gotta be the
feeling of complete.
yeah, that sense of completion. Like, you get to the end, you're like, yes. You do a little dance maybe.
I feel like this kind of reminds me of the endowment effect.
Mm-hmm.
Where we like things we own more.
Right. Exactly. It's like because you built it,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like you own it already.
Yeah, and so that makes you value it more.
Right.
But why does this happen?
Right.
Why are our brains
There are questions.
so weird about this?
Yeah, why do we get so attached to things we make?
Yeah.
So our sources, they point to a few psychological things going on here.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one is effort justification.
Effort justification.
Effort justification.
Hmm.
And that's basically that voice in your head that says, well, I spent 3 hours on this. It must be worth something, right?
Yeah, totally.
So it's like our brains are trying to rationalize
Yeah.
all the effort we put in.
It makes you feel better.
Yeah. Right. By telling us like, oh, this thing is valuable because you spent so much time on it.
So it's like if I spend 2 hours putting together a bookshelf,
Yeah.
my brain's going to tell me it's
Right.
the most amazing bookshelf in the world,
Yeah.
just to make me feel better about
Yeah, it doesn't want you to feel like you wasted your time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What else?
Okay, so then there's overconfidence.
Overconfidence.
Which is that thing where we think we're like a lot better at something than we actually are.
Yeah.
So like when we make something, we kind of see it through these rose-colored glasses,
Totally. I've definitely thought something I made was going to be Pinterest worthy.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, this looks like my kid made it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not even just about how good it is. It's about like seeing yourself in it. You're
Right.
like, oh, I made this.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel good.
Yeah. Makes you proud.
And that pride, even if it's a little too much, it makes you think it's worth more.
Yeah. And then there's just that simple feeling of completion, right?
Right.
Finishing something, even if it's just a little side table,
Yeah.
gives you a little dopamine hit. You're like,
Yeah.
yes, I did it.
Right.
That feels good.
Makes you feel good about the thing you made, too.
Yeah.
And remember, that research showed the IKEA effect was, strongest
Right.
when you finished. So that feeling of, closing the loop seems really important.
Like that I did IT moment.
Exactly.
You step back, you're like, look what I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've established this IKEA effect. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
There's science behind it. It's driven by these little quirks in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
But how does this play out in the real world?
Right.
I think people want to hear some real world examples.
Yeah, good point. Well, I mean, the most obvious one is IKEA itself.
Yeah.
They are masters at using this. Think about their whole brand.
Right.
It's all about, you create your own space. You do it yourself.
I mean, their instructions can be a little
Yeah,
confusing sometimes.
definitely.
But that's part of it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You're like, I conquered this beast.
It's,
I put this together.
yeah, it's not just furniture. It's like pride.
Yeah.
You did it yourself.
Yeah.
And like, a bit of
Yeah.
Swedish
Yeah.
style.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Right.
And then like even their website, you know,
Yeah.
it's all about like, this is fun, this is practical, do it yourself.
Right, exactly. It's like tapping into that feeling of like,
Satisfaction.
I made this.
Yeah. And they're not the only ones, right?
No, not at all. Think about Build-A-Bear Workshop.
Oh my gosh, Build-A-Bear.
You get to make your own stuffed animal.
Genius.
Yeah.
You're not just buying a teddy bear.
Right.
You're like creating it. You're choosing its fur, its eyes. You're giving it a heartbeat.
You're giving it a personality.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate personalized experience.
It is.
And then there's like the Droid Depot at
Yes.
Star Wars Land
Yeah.
or Sevi's Workshop where you make the lightsabers.
That's a good one, yeah.
It's like you're not just putting together parts.
Right.
You're like entering the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, you're part of the story.
You're creating this unique thing that's like really meaningful to you.
Exactly.
But what's really interesting is this effect, it even works when the thing you end up with is basically the same.
Right. You're thinking of the Share a Coke campaign?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like those Coke bottles with names on them.
Yeah.
It's the same Coke.
It's the same Coke.
But suddenly it's like
But it feels special.
way more desirable.
Yeah. Just that little bit of personalization
Yeah.
makes you feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah.
And that makes it more valuable.
Yeah. And you know, speaking of subtle things companies do,
Oh, yeah?
there's this story about cake mixes back in the 1950s.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that one.
So when they first came out, housewives like rejected them
What? Why?
because they were too easy.
Really?
Can you believe that?
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Like just adding water to a powder didn't make them feel accomplished.
Wow. So what did they do?
They had to actually make it harder.
Oh, wow.
They had to add a step.
So what did they add?
They made you add an egg.
Huh.
And that triggered the Ikea effect.
Wow.
And sales went up
So they had to make it more complicated for
More.
it to work.
to make it feel more rewarding.
That's fascinating.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
But the Ikea effect, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
There's a dark side to this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to talk about that.
Definitely. While it can be, a good thing,
Yeah.
it can also kind of lead you down the wrong path sometimes.
Yeah.
Like spending too much on DIY projects or even like
Right.
staying in relationships that aren't good for you.
Ooh, tell me more about that. I'm ready for the dark side stuff.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah.
So first, let's talk about overvaluation.
Okay.
You put your heart and soul into making something,
Mm.
and suddenly you think it's priceless.
Right. That's right.
But other people, they don't have that same connection.
I know. I've been there.
Ugh.
I once spent weeks knitting a scarf.
Okay.
I thought it was like a work of art.
Yeah.
Tried to sell it online.
Oh, no.
Crickets.
Yeah, because to everyone else, it's just a scarf.
Ow.
Maybe
Ooh,
with a few mistakes.
that hurts.
Yeah.
But it's true. We don't see our creations objectively.
Right.
We're blinded by our own like effort and enthusiasm.
And that brings us to the danger of DIY blindness,
DIY blindness.
where you just don't see the flaws in your work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're like, oh, it's charming.
Yeah.
That's just part of its personality.
Totally. I painted a dresser once.
Okay.
More paint ended up on me than the dresser.
Yes.
But I was like, it's got character.
Right. But sometimes that can keep you from seeing that. Like, it's
Yeah.
not actually that good.
Right. And you might just keep putting more time and energy into it.
Right. When you should just stop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there's the cost of your time.
Ooh, yeah.
We think we're saving money doing it ourselves. But
Yeah.
if you add up all the hours,
Yeah.
searching for materials,
Yep.
figuring out the instructions, fixing mistakes,
Yeah.
it might be cheaper to just buy it pre-made.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, time is money.
Exactly.
But we forget that.
We get so caught up in the making, we forget about the actual cost.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's quality, too.
Right.
You might save money using cheaper materials, but it might not last as long as something like
Yeah.
made by a professional.
Yeah.
So you gotta be aware.
Right. Self-aware. Like,
Yeah.
is this really worth it?
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
is it actually gonna save me money?
Yeah.
Am I sacrificing quality just because I want to make it myself?
It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Between like the fun of creating something and the practical side of things.
Exactly.
Okay. But let's talk about how this bias can be used for good.
Okay, good point.
You mentioned like Ikea and Build-A-Bear,
Right.
they're using it.
We're really good at it, yeah.
What are some other ways like businesses or content creators are using this?
Okay, well, one big area is content marketing.
Okay, content marketing.
Content marketing.
That's a big, broad term.
Yeah.
Can you give me some like specific examples?
Yeah, sure. So think about user-generated content.
User-generated content.
Yeah, like contests, online reviews, even just people sharing their experiences with a product online.
So you're getting the audience involved.
Right.
They're not just watching, they're participating.
Exactly.
And that makes them like more loyal to the brand.
Right. When they feel like they contributed, even in a small way,
Yeah.
they value the brand more.
It's like they're building the story with the company.
Exactly.
What else?
Interactive experiences are another good one.
Interactive experiences.
Yeah.
Like what?
So like quizzes,
Oh, yeah.
polls, personalized recommendations.
Right.
Anything that gives the user like a sense of control.
Like those which character are you? Quizzes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love those.
Those are fun.
Even though it's just like silly,
Right.
I always get excited when the results match my personality.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, this quiz knows me.
right. It understands you.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's about those little moments of connection
Yeah.
that make it feel more personal,
Right, right.
and it gives the user control over their experience,
Yeah.
which is really important these days.
Right, with so much information coming at us all the time.
Exactly.
So it's not just about passively taking in content.
Right.
It's about being part of it.
Yeah, you're a co-creator.
Okay. What else?
Well, don't underestimate transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah. Showing how something is made can actually make it seem more valuable.
Oh, like behind the scenes stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like documentaries, or even just talking about
Yeah.
the challenges you faced making something.
Yeah. It makes it more like human.
It does.
You're like, oh, I see the work that went into this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And lastly, the language you use matters.
Oh, language. Yeah.
Instead of just saying, buy this,
Right.
frame it as like an opportunity to create.
Oh, I see.
So instead of get a new wardrobe, it's design your dream closet.
Oh, that's good.
It's subtle, but it can make a big difference.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into that human need
Right.
to be a maker.
Yeah. Like we're all creators at heart.
Exactly.
And you're acknowledging that in your message.
Right. So it's not just a transaction.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a collaboration.
Okay. So we've talked about how companies use this,
Yeah.
but what about our personal lives? How does the IKEA effect show up there?
Well, one area is relationships.
Relationships, okay.
We spend a lot of time and energy building relationships
Right.
with partners, friends, family.
And that makes us like more loyal to those people
Yeah.
because we've invested so much.
But the IKEA effect specifically, it makes us value those relationships more.
Okay.
Even if they're not perfect.
So we're more likely to like
Right.
overlook flaws,
Yeah.
forgive mistakes,
Right.
work through problems.
Exactly. We've put so much into
It's like we've built this relationship from scratch.
Yeah, piece by piece.
Just like an IKEA.
Like an IKEA bookshelf.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just like we might not notice those wobbly shelves, we might not
Yeah.
notice the flaws in the people we love.
Right, right.
We're more tolerant.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that's just,
It's just them.
that's just them being them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We see the big picture,
Yeah.
the memories, the effort we both put in.
Mhm. It binds us together.
It's powerful.
It is. But
Perfect.
like any bias, it can have a downside.
Okay, let's talk about the dark side.
Okay, so the danger is
Yeah.
you might stay in a relationship that's not good for you anymore just
Okay.
because you've invested so much.
It's like you keep putting glue into a chair that's broken.
Exactly.
At some point, you need a new chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to walk away,
Yeah.
even though it's hard.
It's tough.
It is.
But it's important, right?
It is. You have to realize
Yeah.
that you're worth more
Right.
than the effort you put into something.
It's not about the effort.
Right. It's about being honest with yourself.
Right.
What do you need?
Yeah.
What's important to you?
Yeah.
And making choices that are good for you.
Okay. But the IKEA effect, it's not all about relationships, right?
Yeah, not at all.
It can be a force for good
Right.
in the world, too.
Yeah, definitely. Think about community gardens.
Oh, community gardens. Okay. Yeah.
People work together to grow food.
Yeah.
They value it more.
Right.
They appreciate it more.
It's not just the food.
No.
It's the community.
Exactly. The connection.
Yeah.
The pride.
Yeah.
They built this together.
It's like this little ecosystem of the IKEA effect.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And then there's education.
Education, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When students get to build things,
Mm-hmm.
they learn more.
Right.
They remember more.
It's more engaging.
Yeah. Like a science experiment,
Right.
a piece of art, even a computer program.
Yeah.
They own their learning.
It's not just about, like, memorizing stuff.
Right.
It's about doing.
It's about applying it,
Yeah.
solving problems
And you might even discover you like something
Uh-huh.
you didn't think you would.
that you thought was boring.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This makes me think about that whole maker movement.
Oh, yeah.
Is that part of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The maker movement is all about empowering people to create
Yeah.
using, old school techniques
Yeah.
and new technology.
Like 3D printing, DIY electronics, all that stuff.
Exactly. It's a celebration of creativity
Yeah.
and ingenuity.
And it's not just about, like, the individual.
Right.
It's also about community.
Exactly.
People coming together to learn and share.
Sharing ideas.
Yeah.
Creating amazing things together.
It's like the IKEA effect is, like, spreading.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Like going viral.
It's a good reminder
Yeah.
that we're not just, like, passive consumers.
Yeah.
We can create things.
We can shape our experiences.
We have a tower. We
Yeah.
can build a better future.
Okay. But let's talk about the elephant in the room here,
Okay.
the dark side.
Right.
We've touched on it a bit,
Yeah.
but I want to dig deeper.
Yeah. Good point. It's important to be aware of the downsides.
What are some things we should, like, really watch out for?
Okay, so one area where it can be tricky is decision making.
Decision making. Okay.
Yeah, so imagine you have to choose between two options.
True.
One, you put a lot of effort into,
Yeah.
even if it's not the best option.
Right.
And the other one is objectively better,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to start from scratch.
Oh, I see.
The IKEA effect can make you stick with the first one,
Right.
even if it's the wrong choice.
Even though it's not the best.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel loyal to your effort.
It's that sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah,
You're like, but I've already put so much into this.
exactly. It's hard to let go.
Yeah. Even when you know you should.
And it's not just logic.
Right.
It's emotional, too.
Yeah.
You might feel like a failure if you quit.
Oh, yeah.
Like you wasted your time.
It's your ego, right? It's all
Yeah.
tied up in the thing you made.
Exactly.
What else? What other pitfalls?
Well, it can also fuel perfectionism.
Oh, perfectionism, yeah.
Because we overvalue what we make, we can get obsessed with making it perfect.
Yeah.
Even if it makes us stressed.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
Striving for perfection, and then I just end up
Yeah.
burnt out and frustrated.
It's a common trap.
Yeah.
But you have to remember,
Yeah.
perfection doesn't exist.
Right.
What matters is the process,
Yeah.
the learning,
Yeah.
the joy of creating.
Right.
So how do you fight that perfectionism?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Well, one way is to focus on the process,
Oh.
not the end result.
Oh, I see.
So enjoy each step.
Yeah.
Find the satisfaction in the journey.
Celebrate the little wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And embrace imperfection.
That's hard,
It is.
but it's important, right?
It is.
I'm also thinking, like, doesn't this make us resistant to feedback?
Yeah, that's another danger.
Because we're so attached
Right.
to what we've made.
You take it personally,
Yeah.
even if it's meant to help you.
So how do you get past that?
Well, you got to have a growth mindset.
A growth mindset.
Yeah, where you see challenges
Mm.
and feedback as opportunities to learn,
Right.
not attacks.
Yeah. You're not a finished product.
Exactly.
You're always learning and growing.
Right. You have to separate your ego
Yeah.
from your work.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not about you. It's about making it better.
This is complicated, this IKEA effect.
It is. It's not good or bad.
Yeah.
It's just powerful.
Yeah.
And you got to be aware of it.
So we've talked about the IKEA effect in relationships,
Yeah.
content marketing,
Mm-hmm.
even community gardens.
Right.
But it feels like there's one more area where this plays a role.
You're thinking about our relationship with ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
How does the IKEA effect affect how we see ourselves?
Well, think about all the effort we put into
Wow.
creating our identities,
Right.
building our careers, pursuing our passions.
We spend years honing our skills,
Yeah.
learning, growing, becoming who we are.
It's like a giant DIY project.
Yeah.
We're constantly working on ourselves.
But the IKEA effect can make us overvalue ourselves. Right?
Yeah. It can lead to big egos,
Yeah.
being defensive, not wanting to change.
It's like we're so attached to the image we've created,
Right.
we're afraid to let it go.
even if it's not good for us anymore.
Yeah. Like we hold on to old beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
bad habits,
Yeah.
even relationships that,
Are not good for us anymore because they're part of like who we think we are.
yeah, it's like we built this version of ourselves
Right.
and we don't want to take it apart.
But just like we can get rid of stuff we don't need anymore.
Right.
We can also let go of parts of ourselves that aren't helping us.
It's tough though.
It is.
But it's important, right?
It is. You have to know
Yeah.
what you need
Yeah.
and make choices that are good for you,
Right.
even if it means changing.
So we've talked about relationships, we've talked about ourselves.
Yeah.
But the IKEA effect goes beyond that, right?
Yeah, it does. It can affect how we see the world, too.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Okay. Have you ever heard of flow state?
Flow state? Oh, yeah. It's like when you're so into something,
Right.
you lose track of time.
Yeah, you're totally in the zone.
Yeah, yeah.
And studies show that flow state,
Yeah.
it often happens when you're doing something creative,
Oh, interesting.
especially things that are challenging,
Okay.
but not too challenging.
So it's like the perfect level of difficulty.
Exactly. It's got to be the right balance. And when you're in flow state,
Mm-hmm.
you do your best work.
Ah, I see the connection to the IKEA effect.
Yeah.
So if flow state makes us more creative
Right.
and the IKEA effect makes us value things we create more,
Yeah.
then flow state might also make the IKEA effect stronger.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And it means that if we want to use the IKEA effect,
Right.
whether it's for ourselves or other people, yeah, we got to create experiences that lead to flow state.
So instead of just saying build something,
Right.
it's more about like,
It's about finding activities that are engaging, challenging, and meaningful to that person.
yeah.
You got to make it personal.
And maybe like break things down into smaller steps.
Yes.
So it feels less overwhelming.
Exactly. Break it down, make it manageable.
Right.
And give people feedback
Yeah.
so they can see their progress.
So they can celebrate their wins.
Exactly.
Right.
And see what they need to work on.
This kind of reminds me of
Yeah.
gamification,
Oh, yeah.
like making things more game-like.
Right, exactly. Make
Yeah.
it fun, make it rewarding,
Yeah.
and that can boost the IKEA effect.
It's not just about digital stuff either, right?
No, not at all. You can do this in the real world, too.
So like instead of just giving someone instructions for a bookshelf,
Right.
you might like break it down,
Yeah.
show them pictures.
Give them support.
Yeah, cheer them on.
Encourage them to share what they're doing.
Yeah. It's more social.
It is. You're creating a community.
Yeah.
And that can make it more rewarding,
Yeah.
more fun.
It all comes back to making it engaging
Right.
and giving people that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly.
The IKEA effect, it's more than just a weird quirk. Right?
Yeah, it's not. It can be a powerful tool
Yeah.
to motivate people,
Yeah.
get them engaged, help them grow.
Okay. So we've covered the IKEA effect in relationships, in marketing, in education, even in how we see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But before we wrap up, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
What do you think about the future of this bias?
That's a good question.
Like, how is it going to change in the digital age?
Right. Well, as technology keeps, blurring the lines between the real world and the digital world,
Yeah.
I think we'll see the IKEA effect show up in new ways.
Oh, like how? Give me some examples.
Okay, so think about virtual reality, augmented reality,
Yeah.
the metaverse.
Right.
These are creating like whole new worlds
Mhm.
where people can create and build and interact
Yeah.
in ways they never could before.
It's like the ultimate playground for the IKEA effect.
It is. Imagine designing your own virtual house,
Oh, yeah.
making your own avatar, even building a whole world.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And as technology gets better,
Right?
more people are going to be doing this stuff.
Exactly. We'll see more user-generated content,
Mm.
people feeling like they own those virtual spaces.
That's like the IKEA effect is going to level up.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just for fun, right?
No, not at all. It can be used in like education, healthcare, even activism.
Give me some examples.
Okay, so imagine a virtual classroom
Yeah.
where students can build a model of the human body,
Oh, wow.
design experiments,
Yeah.
even travel through time.
It's like learning becomes a game.
It is. It's interactive. It's exciting.
Right.
And then healthcare. Imagine using VR to create your own pain management techniques.
Right.
Practice mindfulness, even like rehearse social situations.
So it's about giving people the tools
Right.
to help themselves.
Exactly, to take control.
And what about activism?
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious about that.
So think about virtual protests.
Right.
where people can gather safely,
Yeah.
raise awareness,
Yeah.
build communities,
Yeah.
advocate for change.
It's like the Ikea effect meets social justice.
It is. It's empowering.
Yeah.
It's about showing people that they have the power to make a difference.
This has been
Yeah.
such a mind-blowing conversation.
Yeah.
We've really explored this Ikea effect from all angles.
We have.
The good, the bad, the powerful.
It's complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it all starts with awareness.
Right.
Once you understand it,
Yeah.
you can make better choices,
Yeah.
see the world more clearly,
Yeah.
live a more meaningful life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Ikea effect,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with this question.
Yeah.
How has this bias affected your life?
Your choices, your creations.
How you see yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the world around you.
What will you create?
What will you build, nurture, share?
How will you use this knowledge to make a difference?
Keep exploring.
Keep creating.
Keep making your mark on the world.
Until next time,
Happy building.
happy deep diving.
Okay, so we've talked about relationships, we've talked about ourselves.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's more to this, this whole Ikea effect thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of layers to it.
What else are we missing?
You know, as we've been talking, I've been thinking about
Yeah.
legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the impact we leave on the world.
Oh, interesting. Okay, tell me more about that.
So when we create something,
Yeah.
whether it's like a physical object,
Mm.
a piece of art, a business, even a family,
Right.
we're leaving a mark.
Yeah.
It's something that will hopefully, yeah.
Outlast us.
It's like we're creating something that will live on.
Exactly. And the IKEA effect.
Yeah.
It makes us want that legacy to be good,
Right.
to reflect like the best parts of us.
It's not just about making something.
Right.
It's about making something meaningful
Exactly.
that will help others.
Yeah.
Maybe even inspire people.
Right.
I'm imagining like a craftsman
Yeah.
making a beautiful piece of furniture,
Mm-hmm.
knowing it's going to be passed down through generations.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Or think about an entrepreneur starting a company,
Okay.
not just to make money,
Yeah.
but to create jobs,
Mm.
solve problems, make the world better.
Or a writer
Yeah.
working on a book,
Mm-hmm.
hoping it will like touch people's lives.
Yeah. Leave a mark on the world.
And it doesn't have to be something huge, right?
No, not at all. It can be small things too,
Like what?
like baking cookies with your kids,
Oh, yeah.
creating memories,
Yeah. Traditions.
or like volunteering,
Yeah.
like knitting hats for people who need them.
Exactly. Those small acts.
Yeah.
They can make a difference.
It's like the IKEA effect creates this
Yeah.
ripple effect
Mhm.
of kindness, creativity, connection.
I like that.
It makes the world better.
It does. And that's what makes this bias so hopeful.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference.
So as we wrap up this this deep dive
Yeah.
into the IKEA effect,
Mhm.
we want you to think about your own legacy.
Yeah. What do you want to leave behind?
What will you create?
What will you build?
What will you share
How will you use the IKEA effect to inspire,
to connect?
to make a difference?
Keep exploring.
Keep creating.
Keep making your mark.
And until next time,
Happy building.
and happy deep diving.